I recently wrote an article about how the U.S. government is suing Michigan over their cage-free egg laws, claiming that that led to higher prices. Although a lot of other people and experts are saying avian flu was the main factor in
Mhm.
that. Can you talk a little bit about that and why specifically here in Michigan that law is affecting prices nationwide or allegedly affecting prices nationwide?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up. And that's sort of a topic that I've actually studied going back to when I first arrived here at Michigan State back in 2013. Um, when we look at, so what we've seen is the Trump administration, the Department of Justice is suing the state of Michigan over the cage-free law that went into effect on January 1st of last year. So it's now been in effect for over a year. And they allege that it's because of the law that we've seen an increase in prices. And there's a couple other, arguments that they have when it comes to interstate commerce or the supremacy clause and sort of federal preemption of some federal laws over state law. Um, what I can say based on the work, I'm not a lawyer or a legal expert, but I sort of look at the economics, is that egg prices have been primarily affected by the bird flu outbreak. That's really what's led to the price spikes that we saw back in 2023, and then again, back last year in the spring where we saw record high egg prices over $6 a dozen. Since then, the price of egg has come down quite substantially. We're looking at wholesale prices that are the lowest in, more than 5 years, and that's because we haven't seen as many um, impacts on commercial operations from the bird flu outbreak. Now, when it comes to the law, so it prohibits the sale of eggs from caged facilities here in the state of Michigan. Now, to transition to a cage-free system, there are added costs, like labor, feed costs, capital investments that producers have to make. But it's important to keep in mind that there was a phase-in period in which producers had to sort of bring their operations to comply with the law. And so that is not something that is showing up in the data as a major driver of the recent spikes in egg prices. And it's, I think, also worth pointing out that a lot of the producers here in the state have already made those improvements to their facilities. So, it's when we look at the law and, its impacts, it's not what I would consider to be a primary driver of egg prices. That would be primarily because of the bird flu. And if you were to go back to 2022, we saw high feed costs because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, what that did to commodity prices. But the cage-free law here in Michigan is not something that stands out as a primary driver. In fact, there was a lot of we did a study that looked at consumer willingness to pay for better animal welfare standards, and the data shows that consumers are willing to pay for the animal welfare benefits that were brought about by this law here in Michigan.